Hey everyone, welcome back. This time I'm going to go over AssetFrameSlot, which is a component used extensively within Material Frame 4.1, where you can drop in images or materials and change the properties of those materials or textures around. They're super useful for setups. You'll see them in all my build and avatar worlds. Business Law also uses the AssetFrameSlot for his particle setup workspace. And I want to show you how they work. Check out my Material Frame 4 technical overview for an overview of how I use them within that setup. But here's an isolated video for how they work individually. I'm going to delete this one to get it out of the way. And then we're going to create a new one. To do that, we're going to grab a dev tooltip, do create new empty object, select the empty object. You'll see when you create an empty object, it just creates a position, rotation, and scale within the world, but doesn't add any components. So now if we go to attach component, transform, interaction, AssetFrameSlot, you'll see it gives us many options. There is iTexture2D, which is textures. There is video textures, audio clips, and meshes. It will also accept materials, but you need to do some typing. I'm going to go over each in turn. So we'll start with iTexture2D. You can also set Texture2D, but I always recommend using iTexture2D. I have more luck with this one. There is a technical reason behind it, but just use iTexture2D. So if I do that, the frame will now appear, and you'll see there's some properties on it. So you see here, AssetFrameSlot iTexture2D, persistent update order enabled are the same as most components, and then frame size controls how big the frame is. So if I do this to 0.8, you'll see it's a larger frame. Frame animation speed is how fast it animates that transition where I change the speed, and snap animation time is how long it takes a image to go inside it once you drop it. So I'm going to here and take my logo, drop it in, and you'll see here it is now dropped in. When it gets dropped in, it parents itself underneath the AssetFrameSlot here. So you'll see here is the image, logo 200, and then you'll also see it sets this underscore current variable to the slot which contains the image. You may have some issues getting it back out again. I can't rightly figure out what's going on there. I do have a workaround right now until I do figure it out, and I will update you when I know, which is if you go to the frame here, which is an object that gets added when you add the component, you'll see this controls the actual frame itself. So if I turn that off, you'll see the frame disappears. Just set this to be backwards a little bit. So 0.001 on the Z, and now I can pull images in and out of it. Hope that trick helps. I know a couple of people had frames which get stuff stuck in it. That's the workaround I'm familiar with right now. This doesn't happen on Material Frame 4, and I haven't put this offset on Material Frame 4, so I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I'll take a look, see if I can find it later. The cool thing about these AssetFrameSlots, though, is the power of this target list. So this target list is a list of references that will receive this texture when you drop it in. To explain that, I'm actually going to go ahead and take this material here and grab a material tooltip. And we're going to edit it. This will be emulating some of the Material Frame 4 things, but it's in an isolated manner, so hopefully it helps. So here you'll see that there is an albedo texture on this material. And if I drop the albedo texture into the targets, and then I refresh the image by dragging it out and putting it back in again, the material now gets that set because that's the target, or one of the targets at least. You can do that with multiple targets. So if you added another target here, you could also do, say, the normal map as well. I don't know what this will look like, but we'll have a look. There we go. Kind of cool, but kind of weird. And so on. So you can now create one of these and have multiple images within the world, or locations of the world, or materials within the world reflect what this frame slot is doing. So if you go back to Business Lawyer's particle workshop, you'll see that when you drop in a particle texture image, the target of that frame is the one of the image properties within the particle system. That's it for iTexture2D. Let's move on to maybe an application for audio clips. You can see I have two here. So let's get started by deleting this and this. Getting rid of this material. Actually, I'm going to leave that to the side because we will be doing materials later. So again, we do create new empty object, on our empty object, attach component, transform, interaction, asset frame slot, and then audio clip. Now you'll see that we've got a frame and we can drop an audio clip into it. Again here, it's not letting me take it out, so I'm going to do that again, that workaround here, where I do 0.001 on here, and now I can take it out and put it in again. You can play an image within the frame, but that's not the powerful part. So if I go back to the frame slot here, you can see that there again, there's a target list. So for the target list, you can do something whereby you can, let me duplicate this. Say in the world you wanted to play a sound, you can set up targets within the world, and you can tweak this audio player orb here to match what you need. So to do that, remove audio player orb, static clip provider, and then asset proxy and audio exportable, audio waveform texture, and then delete the sub objects here. The reason why we're doing this is because it's a quick way to get the setup that you need. And then grabbable as well. So here what you have is an object within the world which can play a sound clip in this location but doesn't have any visual. So that's what we set up there. But now if you see down here, this audio clip player component has a clip property. If I grab this and we take it back over to this and we drop it in as a target, and then we refresh that and go back over, you'll see now that the clip player has a reference to that clip. And then if I hit play, actually, sorry, stop and then play, this location is now playing that clip. You can also drive these audio clip players with logics. So playback, play. But now if I go back over here and we swap out this sound, so we put this one out, this is the wrong noise, and we put in the correct noise. And we go back over here, it's changed that sound to be the other sound that's in the frame. This means that you can make a setup whereby someone can drop in a sound clip and all your logic still works, because your logics refers to this audio clip player rather than their audio orb. It also lets you set volume here independently from their audio player orb over there. That's what these things are called, by the way. They're called audio player orbs. There's another way you can use this, which is if you go ahead to the Logics tooltip, you go to the node menu, and you go to audio, and then you do audio clip input. You may be familiar with this if you're in doing a play one-shot setup. Look for a video on audio setups within World soon. You'll see here audio clip is usually null. Now what you'd usually do is set that manually by dragging the sound over the audio clip input. But what you can also do is if you inspect the audio clip input, go to the root of it and you go to the visual, not the visual, sorry, keep going to the root, audio clip input. Here you'll see a clip property, drag that to a target for the frame. And now if we refresh that, you'll see that the correct noise has gone into the audio clip input. And it will play from the play one shot location. So what this means is that you can set up a dynamic setup whereby either play one shot or audio clip player can play a sound which is dynamically specified by a user within a setup. That's AssetFrameSlot audio clip. Let's delete that and clean up just a little bit. By clean up, I mean shove it all the way out the way. The next thing that we can do is using a material. So if I go ahead, first of all, and create a cube, stick it over there for now, and then we do create new empty object and go to empty object again. This time we're going to go ahead and make transform interaction asset frame slot. And then here we need to do some typing. So for material, type Froox engine, which is the name of the Neos engine, dot material. You'll see this turns blue now, and you can add it. AssetFrameSlot material. And now I can drop a material in. So if I drop this material in, you'll see it goes to that size, and it kind of sits there awkwardly. It also has a target property again. So if you go to the targets, we add a blank target, and we inspect this cube. And on the cube, we find its mesh renderer, and we see this 0 item. That's a material. So drop 0 into the target list. Now, if we close this and close this, any material I drop in here, the cube will be set to it. So now you can see it's set to this white material. If I pull another material or a couple out of my inventory as well, so I'll pull the ground materials out again. So here's the green grass, the red kind of sand or grass, and then a slightly different grass. The cube is being set to whatever the material in this slot is. If you're using it for materials, I recommend that you use a setup from my public folder. If you go to UI stuff, you can find next to material frame 4 is the color material frame. You can delete a bunch of components in here. I'll do that quickly for you. So if we go to the root here, you can delete color, UI, and then you'll just have the material frame here. And the reason why I say that is because it's set up to look a little bit better because of the torus. And again, that has a material frame on it here. So you can go to the root here, and you'll see a material frame, and there are targets there. So we could set that back to the cube, and then it would look a bit better than the frame, but it still works exactly like the material frame, so the asset frame over there does. I hope that helps. That's asset frames for textures, audio clips, materials. You can also do video textures, or they haven't had some use for that yet. If you come up with use, let me know. This makes it easy to make UIs and things where the materials or the pictures are dynamic. One thing to note with these material frames is that they are a bit grabby. Sometimes they'll grab other material frames or objects within the world, so be careful and make sure it's only a world where you're doing customized setup. Like, don't pull them out in the middle of someone else's world, for example. They're usually good. It's just if some object that like looks like a material comes near it, it'll try and grab it like a snap operation. Hope that helps. Drop some comments if you'd like, got any questions, and see you next time.